All right.
The Kosovo Specialist Chambers is now in session.
Be seated. Please call the case, Madam Court Officer.
Good morning, Your Honors. This is case EBC 2020-06, the Specialist Prosecutor versus Hashim Thaçi, Kadri Veseli, Recep Selimi, and Jakub Krasniqi.
I note that all the accused are present in court today. Our modified schedule today will start now, of course, and we'll go till 12, take a 10-minute break, go till 1, then take the lunch break, and then we'll have a regular afternoon, 2 sessions of 1 hour each. Today we will continue hearing the evidence of prosecution witness W04290. There's a preliminary matter before that the panel would like to address. Yesterday, the panel marked for identification P02037MFI. Having considered the parties' submissions, the panel finds that P02037MFI meets the prima facie requirements of Rule 138. In particular, the panel notes that the SBO tendered the document for admission after having shown several pages to W04290. The witness confirmed that it was his handwriting on some of the pages and provided further evidence about those pages, including about the witness requesting and organizing weapons. The panel is therefore satisfied that P02037MFI is relevant, prima facie authentic, and has probative value. In light of the fact that the defense has or will be able to cross-examine the witness on the document, the panel is also satisfied that the probative value of P02037MFI is not outweighed by its prejudicial effect. In light of the above, the panel admits into evidence MFI P02037 and instructs CMU to add it to P01644, the exhibit where a page from this item had previously been admitted. This concludes the panel's oral order. We will continue hearing the evidence of prosecution, witness 4290. Madam Court Usher, please bring the witness in.
Your Honor, just very briefly before, in relation to the exhibit number for what is now P1644, 2 pages of this were also admitted at P220. We would just ask that those also be moved to that exhibit number.
Yes, that can be done. Thank you. Can it be done? I should have said ask you first. We will vacate P02037 for later use and use the new number as, or the old number as requested by the prosecution. Good morning. I note for the record that duty counsel, Mr. Cerchini, is in the courtroom as he has been throughout this witness's testimony. Good morning, witness. Mr.
Good morning.
I remind you to please try to answer the questions clearly with short sentences. If you don't understand a question, feel free to ask counsel to repeat the question or tell them you don't understand, and they will clarify. Also, please remember to try to indicate the basis of your knowledge of the facts and circumstances upon which you will be questioned. I remind you that you are still under an obligation to tell the truth, as stated by you in your solemn declaration. I also remind you that the assurances provided to you by the panel, namely that any response provided to relevant questions will not be used either directly or indirectly against you in any subsequent prosecution before the specialist chambers, except under Article 1.5, Paragraph 2 of the law and Rule 65, which are still applicable, and that refusal to give testimony may be sanctioned with the imposition of a fine. Please also remember to speak into the microphone and wait 5 seconds before answering a question, and then speak at a slow pace for the interpreters to catch up. And if you feel the need to take a break, please let us know and we will accommodate you. Just for your information, we will sit now from now until noon. We'll take a 10-minute break at 12 and then proceed on until 1 when we have a lunch break, and then we will be back in the afternoon just as we have been yesterday and on Monday. Are you ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor.
We continue with Mr. Dixon's questions for the Thaçi defense. Go ahead, Mr. Dixon.
Thank you, Your Honours. Good morning, Mr. Salimi.
Yes. Good morning.
Start where we left off yesterday, where you had described the killing of your friend, Mr. Kachina, when he was traveling from Dranica to Pastrik. You remember that?
Yes, I do.
We could date this. You said it was in 1999. Would it be right, as far as you can remember, that this would have been in late May 1999?
Yes, correct.
Is it also right that the area where he was killed is on a road that is a main road that is on the southern border of the Dranica zone, which you have to cross over to go into Pastrik?
Yes, that's correct.
The main road is the road that runs from Pristina to Pech to Peja. It goes across from east to west, and it's the border between the two zones, Dranica and Pastrik. Is that right?
Yes, correct.
And during the war, this is both in 1998 and 99, when Mr. Kachina was killed, that road was for large parts of time controlled by the Serbian forces.
Yes, that's right.
It was a very difficult and dangerous road to try and cross from the Dranica zone, where you were the zone commander, into the Pastrik zone. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
And that applied as well when you became the overall KLA commander and you moved to the general staff in the Pastrik zone. At that time, it was also very difficult to get from Dranica to Pastrik or from Pastrik back again because of that road being cut off by the Serbian forces.
Yes, correct.
Thank you. I now want to ask you something about what you said yesterday in your evidence. So this was at page 102 and 103. You said that Mr. Jasari was the commander of the military police and that he reported to you as the zone commander and served under your orders. And you said as well that Mr. Jasari continued reporting to me throughout the time that I was zone commander and served under my orders. Do you remember saying that?
Exact. Yes, it is correct.
Based on that, it's right, isn't it, that Mr. Kachina, in his intelligence position, could not give any orders to Mr. Jasari from the military police. All orders to the military police only came through you.
Exact. Yes, that's correct.
I now want to move on to the end of 98, going into 99. At this time, do you recall knowing that Mr. Kadri Vasili was abroad? He was not in Kosovo at the end of 98 and into 1999. I'll come to the time when you saw him in late March, but before then, he was not around. Is that right?
It is right that I never met him and I do not know where he was.
So you had no contact with him during that period up until late March 1999 when you saw him in the Nerodin zone. I'll come on to that now, but is that right?
Are you referring to 1999 or 1998?
And sorry if I wasn't clear. So January, February, March 1999, you had no contact with him during that time until you saw him in the Nerodin zone in late March 1999. Is that correct?
I don't know. I think I have seen him, but I have not had a proper meeting with him. I think we met once in a village near Drenica. That was towards the end of September or November. I cannot place it in time exactly, but I know that I met him once before, the one in Nerodimia.
You're referring here to the end of September or November. That's in 1998. You may have seen him then once in September or November 1998. Is that right?
I'm not certain. I don't know if we are talking about the offensive of 98 or the beginning of 1999 when we met, the two of us, with some wounded people present as well. That was before Nerodima, however, I am not entirely certain about the timing.
Okay, so just so we can place it properly in time, you certainly met him at the end of March in Nerodimia in 1999, and I'll come on to that now. And then you say you saw him, you think, once before that in either September or November of 1998. Is that an accurate account?
Yes, it is.
Now, in February of 1999, you were shown yesterday some minutes of a meeting of the General Staff. This was early February, 6 February 1999. You were, I think you said you recall being at such a meeting.
Pasakt.
Yes, correct.
There was a meeting with some members of the General Staff and zone commanders. Is that how you remember it?
Die datum pasakt nee.
I do not know the exact date. However, it is right that we did have a meeting with other zone commanders.
Yes. This was before, in time, this was before you became the overall commander of the KLA.
Pasakt.
That's correct.
Could have on screen, please, P182. Just so you know, witness, this is a copy of those same minutes that you were shown yesterday. And I just want to ask you about one part of it. That's at page 226,401. And we'll see it both in English and Albanian. Now, we might just have to go back one page to see who's saying this. It's Rustem Mustafa, 2 pages back, please. So you see there, Remy at the top is recorded as
Pa.
the person saying this. And
Yes.
it says this: the intelligence service, SHI, cannot look after the army from abroad. I think we should appoint a professional as commander who should be accountable to us. Do you remember Remy saying this about the intelligence service?
Ja, dan kom ik tot.
No, I don't.
Do you remember this? We've seen who is recorded at the beginning as being at this meeting, that Mr. Vaseli was not at this meeting. You never saw him there.
Ja, Nukachen.
No, Mr. Vaseli was not there.
And do you recall any discussions about his absence? The fact that he wasn't there, that he was abroad?
Kapaz diskutieren met Drushme.
There was a lot of discussion. However, I do not recall who spoke and what was said. As far as these notes are concerned, I don't know who authored it. I don't know if there was somebody who was taking the minutes of that meeting.
You don't have to worry about who authored it and where that all comes from. I'm just trying to see if you remember, I know it's some time ago, but if you remember any discussion at that time. Mr. Vasili wasn't there. Was anyone raising an issue about that, if you can remember?
Zote Veseli Nukachen tak.
Mr. Vaseli did not take part in that meeting.
If we can then move further on in time, that can be taken down to the next meeting of, once again, some members of the General Staff and Zone Commanders. This was on the 13th of February 1999. This is Exhibit 1D 33 for those following. We don't necessarily have to bring it up. But this was the meeting where you took over as the overall head of the KLA. Is that right?
Passak.
Yes, correct.
Once again, it's correct, isn't it, that Mr. Kadri Vasili was not at this meeting on the 13th of February 1999?
Well,
Yes, that's correct.
No involvement in your appointment as the head of the KLA. That's correct, isn't it?
passak.
Yes, it is.
Now, after you were appointed as the head of the KLA and you took over, you've said you were in office, as it were, for about 6 weeks until the NATO bombing towards the end of March. Did you attend any meetings of the General Staff then, or with some people from the General Staff in that period? Do you remember?
Toisiko maitini takem.
I remember having had the meeting after being appointed commander of the General Staff.
Yes, you were taken to some minutes yesterday. This is Exhibit 645 of 26 February 1999. They don't have to be called up. But I'm asking you if you remember attending meetings around that time, late February.
Dice că maitini takem.
I know that I had a meeting with some members of the General Staff. In a village. It was in Berisha or somewhere else.
Yes. And you say here some members of the General Staff. It's right, isn't it, that Mr. Kadri Vasili wasn't part of that meeting?
Pastasaktu.
That's correct.
In fact, he wasn't part of any meetings that you had when you were head of the KLA, other than what we'll come on to when you saw him in late March in Emerdeen. That's right, isn't it?
Pastasaktu.
Yes, that's correct. Kadri Vasili was never in any of the meetings that I had, either as zone commander or as general commander.
Yes, and when you were the general commander, you didn't call him at any stage and speak to him when you were having meetings or outside of meetings, did you?
Yeah.
No, I didn't. I have not had any such meetings.
Okay, I now want to come to when you did see him, you say, with some others. This was when you were wanting to withdraw as the general commander in late March, and you saw him in Nerabdin, and you said that you wanted to be replaced by Mr. Cheku because you thought he was more qualified for the position. This is in your testimony and also at paragraph 89 of Prep Note 2. That's right, isn't it?
There's
It's either a matter of translation or there is a mistake here. I did not say that Mr. Vasili should replace Mr. Cheku, but I said that me and Mr. Cheku should swap around.
Saying as well that that you said. So that's correctly recorded now. And it's right that Mr. Vaseli and the group that he was with, they tried to persuade you not to step down.
Sam kujtohet, po,
If I remember correctly, yes, he told me not to step down. And I replied that it would be best if General Cheko were to take over.
Yes, the fact is that you didn't agree with what was being said. You disagreed, and you decided to leave. You took it in your own hands and decided to leave. That's what happened, isn't it?
po.
Yes.
So, Mr. Vasili and none of the others there had any control over you to make you stay. You could leave if you wanted, and you did.
Passak.
That's correct.
Now, at this time, you've said in your evidence the provisional government was starting to form following the Rambouillet talks, because that was the next logical step to set up a provisional government for Kosovo. Do you recall that?
Po.
Yes.
And do you recall that Mr. Kadri Vaseli was to move into that provisional government as the head of the Kosovo Civilian Intelligence Service? Around this time, shortly after you saw him.
Nuk e di. Nuk e
I don't know what happened after I left.
Show you the communique that came out at that time to see if you saw this. It's 1D70. If you could have that called up, please.
I don't see it either in the SPO or the Vaseli queue.
Is it on the queue? It seems it was admitted from the queue for some reason. It has been shown to many witnesses. It's a well-known document. Could it be added, Your Honours, and shown to the witness? It's 1D00070.
Unless there's an objection.
We're familiar with the document too. He seems to suggest he's not going to know much about it, but
I
no problem with it being
I
added.
understand that, but we'll go ahead and
I
allow
just
it.
wanted to see if he did see it at the
Yes,
time.
go
He
ahead.
may not have. Thank you, Your Honours. Yes, thank you. Now, Mr. Salimi, this is a communique of the government of Kosovo dated 2 April 1999. Are you familiar with it? Have you seen it before?
Po, është dokumenti i qeverisë Kosovës.
Yes, it's a document of the government of Kosovo, which I haven't seen before.
Very well. Can I just ask you whether, though, that you knew at this time that persons were being appointed into ministries for the government of Kosovo.
Pas sagt, ja, det kommer
Yes, correct. I was aware of that.
Assigning of roles going on, including you moving, but others were moving as well. Do you remember that?
pas sagt.
Yes, that's correct.
And do you recall if Mr. Kadri Vasili moved from the KLA intelligence, G2, that we talked about yesterday, to the civilian intelligence at this time?
Prosecutor.
Yes, I do recall.
And it's right, isn't it, that the Kosovo Civilian Intelligence Service became known as SHIK?
Pas sagt.
That's correct.
Was this the first time that SHIK as a formal body came into existence?
Beseći po.
I believe so.
Thank you. I wanted to just ask you one or two other questions before we move on, just about the general staff. And the first of those concerns P142. We don't necessarily have to bring it up. You'll recall you were shown this yesterday, a request which you sent to the general staff for the provision of funds. Do you remember that?
Prosecutor.
Yes, I do.
3 of the provisional transcript, you said, I don't know whether it reached the general staff. Do you remember saying that?
Pas sagt.
That's correct.
Not receive any response from the general staff to your request. Is that what you're saying?
Sam goitovat nakon
As far as I can remember, I did not receive any response to that.
And you didn't have any follow-up or interaction with anyone from the general staff. Is that right?
I sam goitovat mu jo.
To my recollection, no.
You just had to get on with it and deal with it yourself. You said you can't recall whether the funds ever came. Is that correct?
Objection asked and answered.
Well,
Overruled. Go ahead, answer the question.
Ja, rreth kësaj çështje marr vet në zonën operative drejt.
The Drenitz operational zone dealt with this matter itself.
and it's right, isn't it, that we're talking here about 1998 when this request was made and after that, that you didn't have any knowledge of how the general staff worked internally. You knew what was happening in your zone, but you didn't know about the general staff.
Yes. Edhe asnjëherë se kom ditë si.
Correct. I never knew how the general staff was organized or how it functioned.
And when you yourself became the overall head, so now within the general staff, you got to understand a bit more then, didn't you?
Po sakt.
Correct.
And it's right, we've looked at some of the meetings that took place, that sometimes people attended the meetings who were part of the general staff, other times they didn't.
Want dat aan sakt po.
I can say that's correct.
You say it's correct that it was quite an ad hoc arrangement. Sometimes people were there, sometimes they weren't. It wasn't something where the general staff was consistently and on a regular basis all meeting and communicating with each other.
Po është sakt.
That's correct.
Thank you. I want to ask just one question which touches on this regarding Mr. Ferret Shala. You gave evidence and you said that he was head of the Plumbi unit. This is at preparation note paragraph 45. And you testified as well about it yesterday at page 115, if I'm correct. I'll correct that if I need to.
Actually, it was 2 days ago.
Two days ago. That's great. Thank you. You said sometime around April, May, he left to instead be attached to the general staff. You did not know what his tasks were with the general staff. Do you remember saying that?
Jag för ett skäl på för att
Not Ferit Shala, but Ferat Shala.
It's my fault. Ferhat Shala.
på omkvittad.
Yes, I recall him. And that's correct.
To ask you about these dates, because we've heard testimony from Bislam Zairapi in this court, and I'm going to tell you what he said as the Chief of Staff of the KLA. For those following, this is at page 18426 of the transcript. I'll just read out what he said. When he was asked about Ferhat Shala, he said, I know that in 1998, up until the end of 1998, he was the commander of Palumbi unit in Negrots village, near Lupushnik. He was on that post, and then he was transferred and promoted higher up. To what post, I don't know. So this is what Mr. Zairapi said. He said he was the commander of the Palumbi unit until the end of 1998. Having heard that testimony, are you still saying he was there till around April, May 1998 in that role, or could it have been later that he was in that role?
Nu kan jag missakta eller nu.
I am not certain. I do not know for certain, but it's correct that he was commander of the Plumbi points. I think he took part also in the Lapushnik Gorge battle, and I do not know how long after this he stayed on until he went to the general staff.
And maybe you could ask the witness if he recalls when the Palumbi unit ceased to exist. That might help you get to a date.
You've heard he's on a Judge Metro's question. Do you know when the unit continued to exist until?
Jag sitter i Plumbi.
The Palumbi unit was there until the formation of 113th Brigade, which incorporated it. But this group, this unit, kept its name Palumbi unit even after it became part of Brigade 113, and Ferhat Shala was heading this unit.
Was created, witness?
Det kunde
Sometime around June, I think, after I was made commander of the Drenica zone and started the consolidation of the brigades.
Thank you, Your Honor. Can I just follow up from that to ask about your answer where you said the unit continued to exist within the 113th Brigade, so it continued to use that name even after the formation of the brigade, is that right?
påsagt.
Yes, that's correct.
Should therefore have been in existence with Mr. Shala as part of it until later in 1998, towards the end of 1998.
Sen يصير just
It is possible. Every time we had contacts with or interacted with, they refer to themselves as Palumbi unit, and the other members were members of the Brigade 113.
Yes. And when you say Mr. Shala was attached to the General Staff later, you say you don't know what tasks his were.
Janok Edi.
Correct, I don't know.
Yeah. Mr. Zarapia, I read you his testimony, has said that he does not know what his post was. You heard that evidence?
Påsatt.
Yes, correct.
Zarapia is not saying that he was attached to the General Staff or part of the General Staff. Do you still maintain that he went there to the General Staff to be attached to it?
Hij faktiskt man
As a matter of fact, he was no longer in the Palumbi unit. I don't know which period of time exactly, but I know he moved on to the General Staff. I don't know when, I don't know his role or his task or if he was given any.
Okay, and you had no contact with him when he moved on. Is that right?
nog kom pas contact.
I did not have contacts.
Thank you. Okay, I want to ask you one question about the use of the word luli, and this is at Prep Note 2, paragraph 83, for those following. I'll read it out to you and just ask you some questions about it. You say here that you believe Mr. Kadri Vasili was Luli, but is not sure, and noted there may be someone else with this name. Did you remember saying that to the SBO?
Påsatt.
Yes, that's correct.
And when you say that there may be someone else with this name, did you have anyone in mind, or is it just that the Luli nickname is widely used?
Janok kom naar rastgården.
No, I don't have any specific case in mind. I just thought like that.
The nickname Luli is widely used at the time in Kosovo as a shortened version for the name Lumzum or other names like that.
Nog Edi.
I don't know.
Okay, thank you. I want to now go back to where we started early on yesterday regarding Mr. Kachina, and you asked whether he was part of Mr. Sabat Getsy's group. You remember you asked about that yesterday, and you said, no, he was not.
Påsatt.
Yes, that's correct.
And you were asked further questions about Mr. Getsy in relation to allegations about person one, and I'm just going to refer to the person as person one. And you said this in response to questions from the SPO about when you say you spoke to Mr. Getzi about this matter. You said, I have explained this. They invoked having acted in the name of Schick at the time. This is page 122. And the persons who were with him, one or two, I don't remember, Ismet Haksa, who I know was there, he invoked Schick. And I've explained this on the first occasion and during the conversation about person one in my statement. And then you were asked, and on this occasion, did they also indicate on whose behalf they were acting in Schick? And you said they did not mention on whose behalf, but they're referring to as acting in the name of Schick. And then you said this, and later on, I believe it turned out not to be true. You then went on to say they introduced themselves as Schick, this is just further down the page, and mentioned the name of Kadri Vasili as acting on his behalf. But they did not show any document proving this. And I asked for clarifications, explanations at the time. And then over the page, just to complete the sequence, you said Sabit Getzi was undergoing medical treatment, and he moved to various locations frequently, and then at a later stage he left to Albania for further treatment. Esmet Haksa went to the Shala operational zone. You remember giving that evidence yesterday?
Pa.
Yes.
Now, I want to come back and ask you about what you said here, where you said, and later on, I believe it turned out not to be true. Is it right, Mr. Salimi, that you found out that it was not true that they were acting for Schick or any intelligence unit on behalf of Mr. Vasili? Is that what you were meaning there?
Pa.
Yes.
And how did you find that out?
Because I had no contacts with Mr. Vasili, and also there was no such service. I had not heard of it, and there was no such service in the Dernitz operational zone.
Yes, it's right, isn't it, that there was no Schick at the time. That only came later in 1999. There was no such thing as Schick in 1998, let alone operating in your zone. Is that correct?
Exactly.
Correct.
And you say that Mr. Getzi and the others invoked Schick. Are you saying that you now know that that is false? That they weren't working for Schick or any intelligence unit at the time?
I had my doubts at the time, and I believe now that indeed this was not true. They just claimed to operate invoking various names.
Yes, when you say they had that you had your doubts at the time, you did say in your testimony when the SPO asked you about this that you'd asked for clarifications and explanations at the time. So is it right that you had doubts then?
Faktikisht po.
Yes. And to my recollection, I asked for clarifications. And I also said that this should not happen anymore, meaning that somebody would operate claiming to do that on behalf of or in the name of the Drenica operational zone.
Did you say that to them at the time or thereafter?
Som kujtohet sa.
I don't recall exactly when, but I think I must have said that to them there and then.
So is it right then that when you say they said this to you, you didn't believe them at the time and you don't believe them now?
Just sagt va.
That's correct.
And when they claim, as you say, that they were acting on behalf of Mr. Vasily, similarly, you didn't believe them then, and you don't believe them now.
Tässä tässä kun bessu vasta.
I didn't believe them then and I don't believe them now.
And just so we absolutely clear on this, you say that you had no contacts with Mr. Vasily. This is at page 21, line 14. At the time and thereafter, you never went to Mr. Vasily and checked on this matter, did you?
Joo, no kun po.
Correct. I could not have met him because he was not in Drenica. I don't know where he was. I did not meet with him in relation to this matter.
Any time in 1998 or 1999 on this matter, you never raised it with him. That's right, isn't it?
No, besetje joo as nie.
I believe I never did.
In preparation note 1 at paragraph 8, you've called this group under Getia a so-called intelligence unit. And you've said that they were referring to themselves either as intelligence unit or SHIK. Did you use that wording because, in fact, they weren't such a unit?
Tässä tämä herätön.
I said it earlier. I am not aware that it existed as a unit. However, these two individuals claimed to act on behalf of this SHIK.
And it's right, isn't it, that SHIK was the name of intelligence in Albania. This was before the war in 1997. And it was a word used because of it being intelligence from Albania, often to refer to intelligence.
That's correct.
You've said that this group, or so-called group, didn't have any post in your zone. They weren't an official group in any way.
Joo.
Correct.
And you've said that you told them that they shouldn't continue to invoke being an official group or an intelligence unit or SHIK. Did they listen to you?
Besetje man kan.
I believe they stopped operating or at least they did not invoke this any further.
Well, do you know if they started calling themselves something else, like military police?
Ja, no good.
No, this has nothing to do with the military police.
That, but do you know if Getty and co started saying, well, we are the military police or the secret military police?
Segum de June.
I haven't heard this. Any
I just want to read you one bit of testimony from a case against Mr. Getty regarding crimes that were committed in Albania. So not in Kosovo, but in Albania in April of 1999, where a witness said there, and I'll give the reference now for those following. It's in a lot of different directions when he could. He was heavily wounded, as you say, but he was a law unto himself. He didn't answer to anyone.
Objection misstates the evidence.
There was a question. Go ahead. You may answer.
Pošto sakta da
That's correct. He did not report to the Dernis operational zone.
Yes, and he didn't report to anyone else in the general staff either, did he?
natko nuk e di.
I don't know at the time.
Yes, well, I want to then bring up, if I can look at it just before the break, Your Honor, would you prefer me to do the document just after the break? Yes. If I could call up.
He's answered that question.
Yes, this is a follow-up on precisely that. If I can call up SITF 00364447 to 00364456. Witness, just so you know, this is a record of your testimony in the Hassani case, where you were interviewed in 2013. And I'm just going to ask you about one answer you gave about Mr. Esmet Haxa. So that's on page 4 of the document in English. I don't believe there's any translation, but I'll read it out. This is at number 8, witness. I'll read it out to you, and then you can answer my question. You said here, you asked, do you know Esmet Haksa? And you said, I know him now. I don't remember if I knew him during the wartime. I know he was a KLA soldier and he was active at the time, but he was in the Shala operational zone. He was not under my command. I am sure that he did not get any assignment from the General HQ or from the Dronica HQ. Do you remember giving this statement in this case?
Tom Kuital.
Yes, I do.
True is that we're talking here about Esmet Haksa, who was part of Getsy's group with him, and this is your evidence about who he got assignments from.
In the meeting which was presented, when he was present, and I explained this earlier, he was with Sabit Getsi, and so Sabit Getsi and Ismet Khaja. And I said at the time that Ismet Khaja went to the Shala zone, and Sabit remained in Drenica until the moment he went to Albania.
Now,
Yeah, there's one further question, but I'll come back to it after.
all right, we'll break now, give you a 10-minute break now, witness. Thank you. You may leave the court with the court usher. We're adjourned for 10 minutes.
All rise.
Be seated. Please bring the witness in, Madam Usher. Can you just give us an update on timing?
Yes, Your Honours, I should be done by the lunch break.
Thank
I
you
really
very
hope to
much.
be done by then.
Thank you. No, not asking you to hurry. I just wanted to know.
Yes, thank you, Your Honours.
Mr. Salimi, the Salih defense will continue with questions now. Please give them your attention.
Thank you, Your Honours. Mr. Salimi, I just want to keep asking you about the document that's on the screen still. Yes, it's still there, about what you said in relation to Mr. Esmet Haksa. You confirmed that we are talking about the same person who was with Mr. Getsi. I just wanted you to confirm, my question was slightly different, that what you've said here is correct. You've said, I'm sure that he did not get any assignment from the General HQ or from the Dronica HQ. Is that right?
tuossa.
Yes, correct.
Take that down. I wanted to then move on to what you were talking about in relation to Mr. Sabat Getsy's wounds. You will know because you were involved in the trial with him on this matter. That's the Drenica one trial where you were charged with him. You were both acquitted in that trial. I'll come on to that in due course. But I want to ask you if you recall evidence being given by a doctor in that case, Dr. Arben Grozdani, who is a orthopedic surgeon who operated on Mr. Getsy after he was wounded.
I don't know what was the topic of this process.
Just asking if you know there was a doctor, this doctor, Dr. Grozdani, who operated on Mr. Getsy.
No che dici?
I don't know how many doctors took part, but I know that his first treatment came at the hands of Dr. Fadil Becker. There were many other doctors who treated Mr. Getsy at that time or afterwards.
And just so we have the timeline right, he was wounded in the Battle of Likoshan late February 1998. Is that right?
Tuossa.
Yes, correct.
For this, Dr. Grozdani gave evidence in the Drenica 1 trial where he said he operated on him. He was one of the first people that he conducted the operation on. In June of 1998, he operated on one of his injured legs. Do you recall that?
I can't recall the details, but it's likely to be accurate given that he took part in this trial.
Well, I'll bring up a document that was used in the trial. That was 2D0006. It's a report from Dr. Grozdani from 2010. This is much later. If that could be brought up it's in Albanian with an English translation, please. This was used in your trial, and it's from the doctor. Obviously, it's much later after the events, but he sets out his report here where he says in 1998, this is Mr. Getsy suffered an injuries caused by the fire weapon on both legs. You see that in the second paragraph? And he was operated on 2 June 1998 in Likovce and on 14 January 1999 in Slovenia.
Yes, I see it.
And this is consistent with what you've said, that he was badly wounded, he had to be operated on, and that he moved to different places, including here we see Slovenia. Is that right?
I think it is accurate, but I don't know.
And can I then also ask if you recall during the trial the evidence that was given by the doctor about the injuries to Mr. Getsy, and this is at SI TF00370159 for the record. I don't need it to be brought up. I'll read it and see if you recall. The doctor said that he visited Mr. Thaçi and he noticed that it was not only about the injury of the leg, as far as I remember, it was the left leg, because Mr. Sabit Thaçi also had injuries on the right leg above the knee. He also had injuries on his left shoulder and right elbow. Do you remember him having injuries in both legs?
I know that he had been gravely injured and that he sought the help of doctors, and each time he had to move, he was in the company of other people alongside the doctors. He had a need for the use of crutches, but I don't know exactly what kind of injury he had.
And do you remember him being put in a cast after the operation, which stretched from his abdomen right down to his foot?
No, I cannot recall the details.
The doctor once again gave evidence about this in your trial. He said, I don't know if you remember this, that he would have had to be in that for maybe at least 3 months. Is that something you recall?
No, I cannot recall the details, no. But if a doctor said it, it would be accurate. However, these are not details that I am able to recall from this process.
The details are all recorded by the doctor. This is at SITF00370159. You said, though, that he was moving around on crutches. Do you recall that, in fact, he couldn't go very far on the crutches because the leg that was outside of the cast, the knee of that leg was injured, so he couldn't, in fact, support himself for very long? Once again, something the doctor gave evidence about.
I do not recall what was said during this trial, but I can repeat here that his movement was limited and he needed constant treatment by the doctors.
Do you remember this actually able to leave the room because he wasn't able to walk? He could walk a few meters within the room, but not beyond that. This is, once again, what the doctor gave evidence about.
As I said, I cannot recall a single detail from what the doctor testified on.
Okay, well, the record is there, SITF 00370168 on that point and following. Can I ask, do you know then how he got from your zone to Albania and when that was?
I do not know how he made it to Albania. Who, with, or in what mode.
So it's right then that given his condition, as we've gone through here, he wouldn't have been able to, and you didn't see him, carry out any tasks in the field.
As I said earlier, his movement was limited and he had an array of medical problems to deal with.
You never saw him or knew of him conducting any operations in your zone, did you?
That's correct, with the exception of this case. I cannot recall another one.
Sorry, which case are you talking about?
The case that I explained earlier, the case that had to do with the earlier judicial process.
Case you're talking about?
Yeah. Basak.
That's correct.
Jodrenica,
No, not the Drenica one. It was another occasion. It had to do with person one.
In relation to that case, you've said, you've claimed that you have spoken to him about this case. When you spoke to him about that case, was he injured and in the cast and unable to move at that time?
Yes, he was injured. And going through a difficult phase.
But just to follow up, because you haven't answered my question on this, was he able to move around at that time?
With crutches. Or assisted by someone.
So that was staying indoors? Do you know that? Did you ever see him going outdoors?
I don't recall seeing him outdoors.
Yes. And as you've said, at some time thereafter he left for Albania. You don't know how he got there. You say you had no contact with him after you'd spoken to him about this case.
I have seen him on several occasions, but there was no other issue with him.
So after this occasion, when you first spoke to him about person one, you saw him on occasions after that. That's what I'm trying to clarify. Did you or didn't you?
Yes, I think I have seen him after this case, but I can't recall exactly.
After that first conversation about this case, he was still injured, wounded then, and unable to move freely. Is that right?
Until the moment he left for Albania, he continued to be so with injuries and so on.
Yes. Thank you very much. I'm going to move off the medical side now to look at the interview that you gave to UNMIC in 2003. You mentioned earlier that you talked about this case of person one then. This is a statement that is in evidence in this case. It's at P2025. I'm not going to call it up. I just want to ask you about a few parts of it, and I'll refer to the pages for those following. On page 1, going over to page 2, when you were asked in the UNMIC interview what was the function of Sabit Getsi and his subordinates at this time, you said, I don't know about his function at this time because he was wounded at the time, but he was always with the intelligence unit. And I have heard that he was a commander of intelligence unit for Drenica at this time. You remember saying that in your interview?
Wanna come shadow share?
I have clarified that he claimed to be acting on that behalf, and we've discussed it several times. The brother of person one is the one who was involved with this, and on that, in relation to this case, he invoked the claim that he was the chief of Sheikh. And I think we've clarified this.
To make clear with you that when you're talking here about him being a commander of the intelligence unit, what you're referring to is this invocation that he was making, claiming to be an intelligence unit, which you say is a false one. Is that right?
Yes, that's what he claimed at the time.
Yes, and it's a claim that you have said that you have looked into, and it's not true.
Objection misstates the evidence, a claim that he looked into.
Well,
Sustained.
The claim is not true.
It is accurate. I never believed it, and I later came to learn that it had not been true at the time that he claimed to be acting on that.
Okay, and when you say here it is accurate, just to be clear for the record, you're saying that what I've said in that it's not true. That's correct. It's not true. You've come to learn it not to be true. Is that right?
Not.
As I said, I did not believe him. I did not believe it to be true, and I later was convinced that it was not true. And I said it at the time that this claim was made.
Yes. I want to go on then, still in the UNMIC interview, a few pages on page 4 now. You say here, in response to the question, who was Sabit Getsy's superior officer at that time? You say, as far as I know, Kadri Veseli. You were not asked then how you know that. You just said, as far as I know, Kadri Veseli. Likewise, this claim here is not true.
I referred to what Mr. Getsy had stated.
Yes, you say Mr. Getsy had claimed this, but what you're saying is it's not a true statement. Mr. Kadri Veseli was not Mr. Getsy's superior. Is that right?
Objection, foundation.
Overruled. You can answer the question if you have an answer.
On proper thumb.
Let me repeat that I was based on the claims of Mr. Getsy. I later became convinced that he was not a part of that structure, that structure did not exist at the time.
Yes, and it wasn't a structure that was commanded by Mr. Veseli. That's right, isn't it?
I don't know, but that's what Sabit Getsy claimed. But I don't believe it existed because there is no evidence whatsoever of its existence.
Yes, thank you. I want to then move on to your article in Botasat, just to get the timeline correct. The UNMIC interview was in 2003. So that was after everything had come out in the media in Botasat, which was in 2002. Is that right?
Mr. Chesa.
I believe it is.
So you said, when you were asked by the SPO about this, that there were certain allegations, serious allegations made against you in an article in Botasat, and you felt the need to have to respond to this publicly. Is that right?
Pasa.
Yes, correct.
To person one, and the allegation was that you were directly involved in that as Mr. Getsy's superior in the zone, that you were involved with him in the commission of these crimes. That's right, isn't it? That was the allegation.
Pa.
Yes. Yes. According to the article.
You felt the need to have to respond to that publicly. I want to call up what you have written in reply, and I want to do so by not referring to the exhibit that is admitted for this, which is P185, but another translation of this document. And the witness can comment on it and we can compare the documents quite candidly. If we could get SPO E00003277 to 3279. This witness, and for those following, is the ULEX file on the matter, which includes the Botasat article that you were shown in the original Albanian. It's exactly the same in the Albanian, which is the original, but it has a different, or slightly different translation, which I wanted to bring up and then ask the witness about. So that's the first page of the article that came from the computer of the journalist. If we go over the page, we will get the ULEX translation, if you can put that on the left side, and then the original in the Albanian on the right, which is exactly the same as the original in P185. Page 3 in the Albanian. Yes, on the left side. Thank you very much. Now, witness, if you can just look at that's the article in Botasat that's got your name at the end that you say is your response to these allegations. Is that right?
Pasa.
Yes, that's right.
And did you actually write all the words in this, or did somebody help you?
Simply thought.
I don't remember.
Well, let's look at some of the wording then and see if you remember it. There is one part right in the middle which talks about the KLA. We've got here in the translation, information service. It might be intelligence service. You see the line right in the middle that starts with after Dranica, it starts with a capital E. E-I. Can you read out what that sentence says so we can just get a translation from it when you do so?
Seven PS. Cool.
Which part?
The sentence that starts after operative zone of Dranitsa, full stop, is a sentence that starts which I think is and. Just that sentence.
Pas and German.
Yes, I found him. And he was called as the chief of the KLA Informative Service. As an illustration, do you want me to read further?
Just wanted to see what that line came out as. Yes, so he was called as a chief of the KLA Information Service. That's exactly the wording that we have in the ULEX translation on the...
Informative, not information, Mr. Dixon.
Yes, that's what I was just checking on, and thanks for speeding it up. Yes, so on the right-hand side, we see there the English translation, which reads, and he was called as a chief of the KLA Informative Service. You see that part that you've read out? You've translated it as, and he was called as a chief of the KLA Informative Service. So I think it's the same. I just wanted to read it on the screen. What I wanted to ask you then, now that we have the translation clarified, is when you say you wrote here, called as a chief, are you referring there to what Mr. Thaçi said he was called?
Pas
Yes, correct.
So you took what he said, even though, as you've told us today, you didn't believe it was true, and you put it down in the statement, thinking this is what he claimed, I'll repeat it. Is that a fair assessment?
Sabit Gates taşıdama.
Sabit Getz, as I said earlier, claimed to be from this service, and I have pointed this out on several occasions, including in this statement.
Yes, so what you're saying is you just repeated what he had told you.
Pas
Correct.
And you did so even though you knew it wasn't true?
on asiassa kun besut.
I never believed this, but I was not able to prove it otherwise, though. He claimed to be from this service.
And it's correct, isn't it, that when you were having to respond very publicly in the media to these allegations, it was a convenient thing for you to repeat because it deflected attention away from you. That's right, isn't it?
Pse me thani nuk kam pas arsye të them.
I had no reason to say such a thing, because he himself claimed to be.
Yes, I know he claimed it to be true, but I think we've all agreed that you say it wasn't true.
Asiassa kun besu.
I never believed him.
Either about the fact that he said he took orders from the main headquarters and no one else. That wasn't true either, was it?
Ai, ketko ka
At this time, he claimed to act in the name of Sheikh and the general staff.
He claimed, but as we've clarified, there was no sheikh at the time. That was only established later. So he wasn't telling the truth, was he?
është çështja tina.
This is for him to deal with, but again, on this occasion, he claimed as he did. I did not believe him at the time.
I want to then just finally, before we conclude, look at what the SPO asked you about your conviction in the Drenica 2 case. In that case, it's right, isn't it? It's final now that Mr. Thaçi was not charged with you in that case.
That's correct.
He was charged with you, and I said I'd come back to this in the Drenica 1 case, where we were looking early on at the evidence given by the doctor in that case. That's correct, isn't it?
I don't know if he was. I believe so.
I mean, we can bring up the record, but do you recall that you were charged with him in that case? You as the commander of the zone and he as somebody within your zone?
Yes, that's correct.
Concerned crimes committed in Likot in 1998.
Correct.
The allegation, but in the end, it's right that you were acquitted, as was Mr. Thaçi in that case.
Correct.
Do you recall that the evidence of the doctor who we referred to later was found to be reliable evidence?
I don't recall this. I don't recall his evidence, but we discussed the matter.
Mr. Thaçi was only ever convicted, if you know this, regarding certain crimes committed not in Kosovo but in Albania much later in April 1999. Do you know that?
No, I don't.
It wasn't a trial that you were involved in. He was charged separately for those specific offences outside of Kosovo.
Okay.
Okay.
Involved in that.
What is the question?
Yes,
No, I wasn't.
Your Honours, those are my questions.
Thank you. Mr. Roberts?
Thank you, Your Honours. Thank you, Mr. Salimi. I have no questions at this time.
Thank you. Mr. Ellis? Or, I'm sorry, not sure who's handling this.
If you can just give me 1 minute.
Yes, of course.
Good afternoon, Mr. Salimi. I'm Venkateshwari Alexandra, and I represent Mr. Jakub Krasniqi. Just have a couple of questions for you. Now, in preparation note 2, you've stated that you did not know Jakub Krasniqi was a general staff member until he came out publicly as the KLA spokesperson. Do you recall saying that to the prosecution?
Yes, that's correct.
Have a time frame on that. That would be around mid-June 1998, correct?
I believe it's correct.
And on Monday, you were shown some documents purporting to be some conversations between yourself and Bislim Zarapi relating to the kidnap of 5 Serb civilians. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Is that you never had a discussion with Bislim Zarapi on the 5 sub-civilians. Is that your evidence?
Tuon Thaçi.
Yes, I stated that I do not recall any such conversation taking place.
So would it also be correct that you've never had any conversation with Jakub Krasniqi regarding those 5 Serb civilians? That's correct?
Sam kui Thaçi kun
I don't recall having had any conversation with Mr. Krasniqi.
One last question. On the 1st of February 1999, were you in Kosovo?
paakumisen.
Yes, I was.
Was any alleged conversation suggesting that you were in Switzerland on the 1st of February 1999? That would not be correct. Yes?
Ja, nukusta.
That wouldn't, correct?
Those were my questions, John.
Thank you, Ms. Alexandra. Redirect.
Yes, Your Honor. And we are releasing a presentation queue in that regard, but I'll start with items that aren't on it to make that easier.
Yes, go ahead.
Witness, I want to ask you some further questions about some matters that were discussed in cross-examination today and yesterday. I want to start with the purported order to arrest Hashim Thaçi, Kadri Veseli, and Recep Salimi, and this is from pages 25083 to 25093 of the provisional transcript. Now, you were read one of the 2 paragraphs from your preparation note about this item, and that was on pages 25083 to 25084. Your Honor, I would now like to read to the witness the rest of what he said on that item, which is from paragraph 14 of preparation note 2.
Objection, Your Honor, that's leading. He can try to elicit what he wants to, and then if he needs to refresh under 143, he can do that, but I don't think he's allowed to lead. It's not in evidence.
Counsel, open the door by reading half of what he said. I
Yes,
want to
go
read the
ahead.
rest.
Objection's overruled.
Thank you. So, witness, this is what is written in the preparation note about this purported arrest order. Laughing when it was initially shown, you do not think this document is authentic and refer to it as nonsense. You had never seen this document before, it bears no signature, and you do not think that such an order would take this form. It was not possible to issue an order to arrest someone like Recep Salimi because he's your uncle's son. Is that correct?
Pasakt.
Yes, that's correct.
Turning now to the questions that were asked of you just now by the Veseli defense about your 2003 statement, which is in our record at P 2025. Was that 2003 statement read back to you and signed by you in 2003?
I believe it was. I do not recall it specifically, but I think that's the procedure, yes.
Officer could please pull up P 2025, page SITF 00311718. And if we scroll to the bottom of the page, witness, you can see in the original, which is actually the English, is that your signature on the bottom of the page?
Pasakt.
Yes, that's correct.
Of that 2003 statement, it also says read or read in the native language to stating person and confirmed by the stating person. Is that what happened?
Pasakt.
Yes, that's correct. That I signed it and I gave this statement.
Now, you had an opportunity in the preparation session to read this statement again, correct?
Borsag.
Yes, that's correct.
All of the corrections that you made were recorded in the preparation notes. Is that also correct?
Borsag.
That's correct.
This was one of the statements that you confirmed in the courtroom on Monday with your corrections attached, reflected what you would say if examined on these points in this courtroom. Do you remember that as well?
Paul.
Yes.
If we can now put on the screen P2029 and specifically page 125421. Witness, I'm afraid this page is only in English, but this is the relevant part of your preparation note. And just for everyone's reference, I wanted it on the screen, but I'll read the entirety of it into the record so that you can hear it through interpretation. So, for those following on the screen, this is paragraphs 8 and 9. That ERN is what became P2025. This so-called intelligence unit was active in June 1998, but Sabit Getzi did not hold any post in the Dranitsa operational zone. Sabit Getzi and the people with him referred to themselves either as an intelligence unit or as Shik. You do not know Sabit Getzi's father's name, but he's from Lausha. You know a second Sabit Getzi, who was also in the Dranitsa zone and became a member of the 114th Brigade. This Sabit Getzi is not discussed at all in this statement, and he was not part of the intelligence unit. Witness, were those your corrections from the preparation session on this statement from UNMIK?
Borsag.
Yes, that's correct. But with respect to Sabit Getzi, this is an answer to a question that was put to me, which was there any other Sabit Getzi? And I gave the answer and explained it. And I explained about this other Sabit Getzi who was a member of the zone. But that's correct, yes. Now, with respect to whether he was active in Shik, I'm not sure what I said. I think I said he was not. Here it reads the so-called. If you allow me to analyze, what I think I said is that Shik at this time was not operational.
For the record, the duty counsel said something that's not recorded in the transcript to the witness during that answer.
Paul.
Yes. I apologize. I asked him, did I say that this was not active? He was not active in this, and
so, witness, in the 2003 UNMIK statement, there's a sentence here. It doesn't need to be on the screen, but it's on the first page. You were talking about the brigades in your zone, and then you said, after this was formed, one intelligence unit that received orders directly from the MHQ, and we didn't know who was operating in this unit, and we always had trouble with this unit. Now, witness, my question for you is that correct, that you were always having trouble with this unit?
Look at this.
again, I refer to the problem that was there. The process of what happened on one occasion. How can I say that this was a source of trouble? I cannot. I always refer to this case, the occasion on which I had this complaint.
Court officer could please go back to the second page of the preparation note, the two corrections paragraphs We'd just like them to remain on the screen for purposes of this conversation. Now, witness, you didn't correct in all of the opportunities you had this line. Why didn't you correct it if it was just a single occasion?
To be honest, I just gave it a look at it and didn't really pay attention to small details. My position was constantly the following, which is that Sabit Gezi, this group, claimed or referred to themselves or invoked this institution. I did not believe them at the time. I don't believe it now. And I have always stated with respect to Sabit Gezi that he was not a member of the Dernis operational zone. He was a member of the army who had been wounded and was treated by the doctors. So I always gave general descriptions. I didn't necessarily go into details, that's all.
That this intelligence unit that was claiming to be receiving orders directly from the general staff, that you were always having trouble with them, was a small detail.
It was not insignificant or small detail, but when they invoked or claimed to be from the general staff.
Continue along these lines, but we note the time.
All right, witness, we'll take a break for lunch now. We'll take this up again at 2:30. Thank you for being with us thus far. You may leave the courtroom now with the court usher. We're adjourned until 2:30.
All rise. All rise.
Be seated. Madam Court Officer, we are going to issue a oral order, so please take us into private session.
Your Honor, we're in public session.
Thank you. Madam Usher, please bring the witness in.
Well, Your Honour, could I just use the opportunity quickly to seek the admission of two documents I used in my cross-examination while the witness is being brought in, if that will save time. The first is the ULAC's translation of the Botasot article. That's 00003277 to 000. Yes, so the numbers are 00003277 to 00003279.
Any objection to that?
None, Your Honor.
And
Just a second. 00003277 to 00003279 is admitted and will be assigned a number, exhibit number.
Your Honor, it could be added to the existing exhibit 185. Sorry to interrupt.
Well, you want it added to something else?
Yes, I mean, it could be given a separate number or just added to the existing exhibit 185, which is the SBO translation, so that it's together and it can be viewed easily together.
Any objection to that?
We have no objection, just to note that two different versions are tendered by two different parties. So if it's possible to relate the numbers in that circumstance, it's fine with us.
It'll be filed with P0185. Go ahead. Now next.
Thank you, Your Honours. And the only other request is to admit the record of the examination of the witness in the case that I referred to. I referred the witness to one particular part of that, but it's a short transcript, and that is 00364447 to 00364456. Your Honours will recall the witness was shown one answer that he gave, and he confirmed that answer.
Any objection?
Your Honor, as I understand it, this is one of the statements of the witness on the stand that has not yet been admitted. We don't have any objection to admitting that.
00364447 to 00364456 is admitted.
Your Honor, that will be assigned exhibit 2D44, and if we can clarify classification.
Your Honours, I think it's a public document. We will just.
It'll be reclassified as public. What about the first one?
Your Honor, I'm not sure that's entirely correct. What we would ask is to keep it confidential for now and then review it with the other statements in the transcript review process.
All right, that request is reasonable.
Yes, I would agree. Thank you, Your Honours. Those are our requests.
All right, you can bring the witness in now. Be seated. Mr. Salimi, we continue with questions from the prosecutor. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, witness. We were talking before the break about your 2003 UNMIC statement, and for reference, again, in English, we have the relevant part of the preparation note on the screen. I want to ask you about a second sentence within it. You were asked the following in 2003, please tell me the names of the commanders of the Special Unit and Intelligence Unit. And you responded, the commander of the Special Unit was Yahir Demaku, and the commander of the Intelligence Unit was Kadri Veseli. Witness, you never said that you didn't believe that Kadri Veseli was in charge of this unit. Why didn't you correct this sentence if it wasn't true?
Nunca di.
I don't know. I'm seeing it only now.
Witness, the sentence that I read to you, you've seen at least twice because you saw it and it was read back to you in 2003 and you got to read a version in Albanian for your preparation session. Why didn't you say you didn't believe this?
The question was never asked.
Witness, you were asked in this courtroom if your statements with your corrections from the preparation session reflect what you would say if examined in this courtroom. You were asked if this statement was true. Why didn't you say it wasn't?
First of all, I only have this in English. Can I see that in Albanian? The one that's on the screen, that is.
The preparation note on one side of the screen, but for the benefit of the witness, if we could please put the Albanian translation of P 2025, page 1, on the other side. Witness, we can do that. It will be on the screen in a moment.
Find it.
Thank you.
And if we scroll to the bottom of the page, so what I was asking you about was this sentence: please tell me the names of the commanders of the Special Unit and Intelligence Unit. Answer: the commander of the Special Unit was Yahir Demaku, and the commander of the Intelligence Unit was Kadri Veseli. Witness, is this correct?
I can see it now. This was within the context of Kadri Veseli having been made chief of G2, or the intelligence unit. It is the language there as commander of the unit, I think, is wrong. However, I think what I said is that he was in charge of the department called G2 or something like that.
So, witness, is it your testimony that your response to this is that you were referring to Kadri Veseli being in charge of intelligence in general?
I think that it was a mistake. Because for this period in particular, only Mr. Getty's claim is the one to link him to being chief of intelligence.
If it was a mistake, why didn't you correct it in your opportunities to do so last week and this week?
It's my mistake at not having read this detail.
You consider that Kadri Veseli being the commander of the intelligence unit to be a small detail?
I was wrong not to notice this at the end, but even where I mentioned what I mentioned, I based it on what Mr. Getty said about that particular point in time.
We'll look at one more of these. If we can go to the second page in the Albanian version of the statement, the preparation note paragraphs are the same. You were also asked the following question in 2003. When you mention different people doing these deeds, and this was in reference to a previous answer involving person one, do you refer to Sabit Getsi and his companions? And you responded, I don't know was Sabit that one doing these deeds, but Kadri Vaseli was the commander of Shik intelligence unit, and there were other groups unknown to us operating in the zone. But I also know that some of our soldiers had problems with these groups. The best would be to ask Kadri Vaseli, because he knows the best about the structure of his unit and where they were located. Witness, you said to the Vaseli Defense Council that you had no evidence of the existence of the unit. Aren't you talking here about evidence of the existence of this unit?
Again, it is to do with that particular case. And what Mr. Getsi stated on this occasion, as far as Mr. Vaseli is concerned, this is wrong in my view. He was in the general staff, but in charge of G2 or intelligence, and I was not aware of what the structure was like at the time. So if I referred to it in any shape or form, that was based on the fact that Mr. Vaseli was serving the general staff as the person in charge of G2 or intelligence, because I never knew that in detail. For this period in time, all my references are to be traced back to what Mr. Getsi stated.
Witness, that again calls into question why you didn't correct this paragraph in your preparation session or at the beginning of your testimony. Why didn't you do that?
As I said, I did not peruse it. I just cast a glance over it, thinking that the themes that we were going to focus on were very clear to me.
Witness, you were saying that you understood Kadri Vaseli being in charge of G2. Am I correct that at the time of the events you're discussing in this statement, this is June 1998?
No, I'm referring to a later period when things were more public and which was even discussed earlier, whilst for this period of time, my references are only to the statements made by Mr. Getsi.
Witness, you say in the preparation note on the screen, the so-called intelligence unit was active in June 1998. Are you saying that at this point of your UNMIC statement, you left that time period and started talking about information from later?
Your Honor, can I object to this line of questioning? Perhaps it's better done without the witness here.
Please take the witness out. You can go with her. Okay.
Your Honours, of course, there's no objection to asking the witness about why he might have or not corrected something. But I object to making reference to paragraphs 8 and 9 as the places where corrections are meant to be made, because it's not clear that that's what was asked of the witness. Please put down here what your corrections are. Rather, those are questions, it would seem, as the witness has indicated, coming from Mr. Helling, asking him about who's your father, is there another Sabit Getsi? So the prosecutor asking questions then they are getting recorded, as opposed to the prosecutor saying, okay, come on, let's go through it step by step now, line by line, let's list all your corrections. So I think it's wrong and unfair to put to the witness that when he talked about what he talked about here at 8, he should have made the correction. Because when he's being asked a specific question, it would appear by Mr. Halling at that point. And we don't have any record of this conversation.
It's proper redirect, and your objection's overruled. Bring the witness back in. You may continue, Mr. Halling.
Thank you, witness. I've been given permission to ask that last question to you, but just for your benefit, I'll repeat it so you have it again. Witness, you say in the preparation note on the screen that the so-called intelligence unit was active in June 1998. Are you saying that at the point of the UNMIC statement we were just discussing, that you left that time period and started talking about information from later?
Ja, bafhams je kommer Peru.
No, what I'm saying is that I referred to what Mr. Getty stated in those proceedings, and I wasn't able to ascertain, nor did I pursue it any further. I had my own issues to deal with. As far as Mr. Vasily is concerned, I've never met him before, and all my references are based on what Mr. Getty stated. That's it.
Now, witness, you were telling Vasily Defense Counsel that you are not convinced that there was such a unit at this point. When did you become not convinced?
On this, even on this particular isolated instance, when I inquired, I was not convinced that Mr. Getty was telling the truth. However, I did not pursue it any further because of the circumstances of the time. However, I reproduced what he stated at the time.
You didn't tell UNMIC in 2003 that you weren't convinced about Kadri Vasily being in charge of such a unit?
They never asked that question.
Well, then can you explain why last week in your preparation session, when you had an opportunity to clarify or correct this part, that you didn't say you weren't convinced by Kadri Vasily being in charge of this unit?
You didn't ask this question of me directly either.
When you were asked on Monday if all of your statements were accurate, subject to the corrections in the preparation note, why did you say yes if you weren't convinced by this?
You mean to the concrete question, the one that you're asking now? You did not ask me that question. It is my belief that I did not have any further knowledge with respect to this period. But the fact of the matter is that I did not read every single detail of the statement, and you did not ask me that question directly either.
Witness's prior testimony is clear from the record of Monday. I'll move on. The documents can be taken off the screen. I now want to turn to a couple of last points. The first is in relation to Adam Damaci. The Thaçi defense asked you some questions about the influence of Adam Damaci around the time of Rambouillet, in particular whether he was given the competence for the political leadership of the KLA, and you said you didn't know. And this is from transcript pages 25068 to 25069. My initial question is, as the KLA spokesperson, was Jakub Krasniqi better placed to know this than you?
Look at the.
I don't know. However, I can add here that Mr. Damaci was one of the greatest patriots, an individual who had not only my respect, the greatest of respects from myself, but from the entire population of Kosovo. Whether between the two of them they were aware of this or not, I cannot say.
My question is not about Mr. Damaci's reputation or influence, but specifically whether he was the general political representative of the KLA. Can you say one way or the other whether Jakub Krasniqi would be well placed to know this?
Is the witness able to answer the question, Your Honours?
That's
clearly seeking an opinion from the witness as to whether or not Jakub Krasniqi would have known.
That was the question he asked. Go ahead. Answer the question if you know.
Look at the.
I don't know, but as a spokesman, his position at face value would have been lower.
Why don't we see what Jakub Krasniqi said? If the court officer could please pull up SPOE 00230-638 in Albanian and English, and in the English version, it's page 3 of the transcript. Witness, the document on the screen you did not see in your preparation session, but just for context, this is an interview of Jakub Krasniqi on 4 March 1999. And he says the following: in fact, Adam Damaci has never been general political representative of the KLA. His responsibility was to create these institutions we are now creating. No individual replacement of anyone can be a substitute for the collective work of the GS or the political directorate of the GS of KLA. Do you have any reason to dispute what Jakub Krasniqi is saying here?
I can only state that Mr. Damaci was a public figure at this time, and he was the political representative of the Kosovo Liberation Army with an office and address in the center of Pristina. I don't know what Mr. Krasniqi is talking about here, and I cannot comment on it.
Very well. If we could now put P1883 on the screen, in the specifically page SPOE 00131-856. Now, witness, again for context, this is an interview with Recep Selimi, and he is talking about how the KLA ultimately divorces itself from Adam Damaci after the return of the Rambouillet delegation. And I just want to read part of that to you. So, KLA's final divorce with Damaci happened in the Berisha Mountains, did it not? The delegation returned from Rambouillet on Thursday, while Damaci met with the general staff on Saturday. How did that meeting go? And then the response from Salimi is, Damaci left the general staff meeting. He insisted that the deal was not signed at all and attempted to use his influence on zone commanders, but the zone commanders ignored him, so his silence since then has shown his disappointment or failure. His silence or disengagement in the various processes has been unjustified and has left a void in his otherwise very fruitful life as a symbol of national resistance. Is Recep Salimi's account of how Adem Damaci stops being the general representative, stops his role, accurate?
What I'm able to say is that Mr. Damaci remained as a political representative until the return of the delegation from Rambouillet, and that has been my assessment all along. Whereas what's being referred to in this article, that would be an issue that is best known by those in the general staff who took part in these discussions. As far as I'm concerned, Mr. Damaci remained one of the main prominent public figures in Pristina. All his statements were public, and I met him several times in the Drenica operational zone.
I understand that, but there's a specific sentence of Recep Salimi that you might be in a position to know. It's the one where he says he insisted that the Rambouillet deal was not signed at all and attempted to use his influence on zone commanders, but the zone commanders ignored him, so his silence since then has shown his disappointment or failure. Is Recep Salimi's account of those events accurate?
Again, there might be something correct in there, but I know that after the signing of the Rambouillet agreement, we had no further contacts with Mr. Damaci, with the exception of one or two occasions through the phone. I think at this time he was in Slovenia on that occasion when I communicated with him over the phone. With respect to his position after this, I don't know.
And as to the general commander post, did Adem Damaci have any influence over your election as general commander?
No, he didn't.
Thank you. The document can be taken off the screen. The last thing I want to ask you about is you were asked many questions by the Thaçi defense and to some extent the Veseli defense as to meetings leading to the general commander post, including meeting minutes talking about rumors of a coup. And you can see this in transcript pages 25053 to 25071 from yesterday, and real-time transcript pages 7 to 9 today. P182 has come up a lot. If that could please be put on the screen, starting at page SPOE 00226-405. I want to go back to the minutes of the 6 February 1999 meeting you were asked questions about. Do you recall these questions? So witness, just to orient the part I'm interested in. So this was the page you were asked questions about where Sami says Recep Salimi, Hashim Thaçi, and Kadri Veseli are responsible for the situation we're in at the moment, just to orient you. If we go to the next page, You were shown this page really just for the fact that it says Sula at the top. And it was put to you, this was the beginning of your intervention. But the intervention itself wasn't put to you. And this is what is said under Sula on this page. In the operational zone of Drenica, we have appointed at the top those who have fought bravely from the start. Hashim, Kadri, and the 10 have contributed to the war from the beginning. The 10 is one of those who has risked most during the war. Is it accurate what is recorded here about what these 3 men meant to the war?
Jag nog besök.
No, I don't think so. First of all, I don't know the origin of this writing. I am not aware of this meeting having taken place or this matter having been discussed.
Witness, that's interesting, but that actually isn't the answer to my question. My question is just about your own position on the content. Is it accurate what is recorded here about what these 3 men meant to the war?
It is not my position. First of all, I don't know if what's written here is accurate. I do not recall any meetings where this thing or this matter was discussed.
Well, let's go to the next page then. You were shown this page as well. This is on T25059 to 25060, the discussion about it. And it was this, until we have new appointments, I will not respond to any requests from or brief you. And I think that even my post as commander of the operational zone will be contested. Only then I will carry out all the tasks that the General Staff assigns us and will not contest any orders. Now, witness, you did talk about this in the preparation session. Your Honors, if I could go to preparation note 2 to read the paragraph that is relevant to this, which is paragraph 45.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. Now, witness, when you were shown this page in the preparation session, what you said was, you never said you would contest orders in the manner described here. Is that correct?
It is correct. I do not recall any such meetings where this matter was discussed. As far as I'm concerned, it is correct that I have never contested. I might have had remarks on specific persons holding specific positions, but I have not contested anything.
Thank you. If we could now have up on the screen a video, 068933B, Part 4, and cue it to 4255. And if that can be on one side of the screen, and on the other side, the English translation, P761.4, starting at page 13. And Your Honors, unlike a previous version played, this is Recep Salimi's SPO interview. We don't see any need to play this in private session, and we would propose to stay in public for this.
Go ahead.
Just wait a moment for it to be queued up.
You just indicated that the video can be broadcast.
And when everything's ready, the full timestamp will be from 4255 to 4444. And witness for context, this is an interview that Recep Salimi gave to the SPO, and it was video recorded. And he's going to be talking in this portion about you in the General Commander post. And just to watch this, and then I'll ask a question.
Did I understand you correctly to say that you yourself made the proposal for Azim Sula to be removed?
Ai u kuptova sakt që ju thatë se ju vetë e keni bërë propozimin që Azem Sylla të hiqej, të shkarkohej.
Jo kështu tamam, prandaj disha
Not
thënë.
exactly like this.
Unë i rash nga ana tjetër propozimit.
I kind of went the other way around with the proposal.
What do you mean?
Ç'do të thoni me këtë?
Unë kërkova nga komandantët e zonave
I asked the zone commanders
që ata të vendosin
for them to decide
në atë takim,
at that meeting,
pa dalë jashtë fare,
without leaving at all,
pa u shpërndarë domethënë,
without leaving, without going
se
anywhere,
kush do të jetë komandanti juaj.
who they wanted to be their commander.
Dhe njëri komandanti do të jetë njëri nga ju.
And I said that the commander was to be one of them.
Mbledheni për vendosjen bashkë.
And I told them to get together and decide together.
Kështu kemi vepruar ditë.
And this is how we acted.
E kanë propozuar njërin nga ta,
They proposed one of themselves,
Sulejman Selimi,
i.e. Suleiman Selimi,
si komandant i përgjithshëm,
as a general commander,
dhe atë ditë është vendosur që Sulejman Selimi të jetë komandant i përgjithshëm
and it was decided that day that
me propozimin e
Selimi
komandantëve të zonave.
would be the general commander based on the proposal of the zone commander.
Normalisht nuk ka mundur që atë natë të formalizohet.
It was impossible for this to be formalized that night.
Në mbledhjen e ardhshme të shtabit të përgjithshëm,
In the next general staff meeting,
ata që kemi qenë, s'm kujtohet kush kemi qenë ato,
whoever was there, and I don't remember which of us was there,
e kemi pranuar propozimin e tyre si vendim.
accepted their proposal and made it into a decision.
Was Azim Sula?
Thank you, Madam Court Officer. Witness, is what Recep Salimi describes here about how you became the general commander accurate?
Po është sakt.
Yes, that's correct.
One last item I wanted to ask you about. If we could please put on the screen DHT 03883 to DHT 03894-ET. Now, witness, this is provided to us by the Thaçi defense in English, but I can explain what it is and read the portions that I'm interested in. It says, Kosovo, War and Peace, Skalzengashi, Suleiman Salimi. Do you recall giving an interview with Skalzengashi in 2005?
Nuk më kujtohet.
I don't recall it, but I think I did. Can we have it in Albanian?
Albanian, that I'm
okay.
only interested in very small parts of it. If we can go to the second page, and I'll read you the question and answer.
Okay.
So if we scroll down, it begins with who were the commanders that did not agree with Rambouillet? And then you answer, all the commanders of KLA operational zones were against it. As zone commanders, we were opposed to it, and every time we communicated amongst ourselves, we raised as a problem the content of the Rambouillet agreement. In a way, we pressured them not to sign this agreement. Apart from pressure, did you also stage a coup? Answer, that is not true. We did not plan a coup. Witness, is what you said accurate?
Can we finish the rest of the paragraph, please?
Po është
Happy
sakt.
to. I missed the witness's answer.
Po është sakt.
Yes, that's correct.
And just to finish, as KLA zone commanders, we did have very good contacts with the KLA political representative, Adam Damaci, and his office in general. We asked many times to know who the KLA general commander was. We were told, if we can go to the next page, there was a general commander, but we did not know who it was. Every time in all meetings of KLA zone commanders, it was asked to be known who the KLA general commander was to know who was leading us. And witness, I believe you were saying that as well to the Thaçi defense on cross-examination, yes?
Po.
Yes, correct.
03890, and at the very bottom of the page, And the quote will end on page 3891. There's one last excerpt of this I wanted to read to you. So the interviewer begins, I have no dilemmas that the Rambouillet Agreement is catastrophic, but I have dilemmas if we could have continued the war and win it. And this is your recorded answer. The war could have continued. I was against going to the Rambouillet Conference and against signing of the Rambouillet Agreement, but for the sake of friendship, I did not want us to break. Miserable are those who say we did a coup. I would really like to face everyone who says that we staged a coup. There was no coup, absolutely. Witness, did you say that?
Paul.
Yes.
Thank you. Judge Barta.
Thank you, Judge Smith, and good afternoon, Mr. Salimi.
Good afternoon.
There's a few more questions for you about some issues that are still not entirely clear to us, and the questions I would like to ask you primarily concern information you provided in your preparation session with the SBO, with the prosecution, compared to what you have stated here in court during the last 2.5 days. I would like to start with preparation note 1, paragraph 6, and this paragraph reads as follows. I will read the paragraph for you in the English because I heard that there's no Albanian version of that preparation note. So please listen carefully. Immediately upon W0429's election as General Commander, he went back to the Drenica zone and stayed with the same people as he had before. W04290 could not exercise his functions as General Commander until the Rambouillet delegation came back, because W04290 needed to get back into communication with them beforehand. It was unclear where negotiations stood at the time and people were not informed, end of quote. Mr. Salimi, my first question is the following. Can you explain again why you were not able to exercise your functions as General Commander and why you needed to get back into communication with members of the delegation beforehand?
I can give you a general explanation. After my selection as the Commander of the General Staff, the majority of the members of the General Staff were also members of the delegation in Rambouillet. I was physically in Drenica with the people I was staying in that area. We were also expecting the next developments as well. This is what I meant.
So were the members of the delegation, the Rambouillet delegation, informed, or were they not informed? Involved in your appointment beforehand, or were they not involved in your appointment?
No, those who were members of the delegation were not involved. The proposal was made by the zone commanders, and amongst them members of the General Staff, who would then inform the other members of the staff. So in this meeting, it was decided that I would be the overall General Commander upon proposal from the zone commanders.
So was the problem that members of the delegation were not involved in your appointment, that they were not present
Vilket aspekt?
Not in this sense, but the circumstances were such at that time that I was not able to extend my functions in general terms as general commander.
So correct me if I misunderstand you, but is it your evidence that you wanted or that you were looking for their approval? The approval of the members of the delegation who were not present in the meeting or at the meeting when you were appointed?
No, this is not what I'm saying. I was not waiting for that. The majority of the members of the general staff were in Rambouillet as part of the delegation. I, as an elected commander, stayed in Abri, Drenic, and for my own reasons did not exercise the functions, not because I was waiting at the return of the delegation.
In paragraph 6 of preparation note 1, it is recorded, and I read the sentence again, that you had told the prosecution, according to that note, that you could not exercise your functions as General Commander until the Rambouillet delegation came back. So I'm asking you again, why could you not exercise your functions as General Commander until the delegation came back? Or are you saying now that you didn't say that to the prosecution last week?
I'm saying this in general terms. I was commander of the Renica zone. I was from that area. There was fighting going on, and I continued to stay there, close to my soldiers and close to the people I had operated with before. In this sense, this is how I thought it.
So in other words, it had nothing to do with the fact that members of the delegation or members of the general staff were not present during the meeting when you were elected or selected as general commander. It had nothing to do with that?
Exakt.
Correct.
Thank you. I think this is clear now, and I would like to move on to paragraph 16 of preparation note 1. This paragraph, or in this paragraph, it is recorded that you told the prosecution during your preparation session that your comments on arrest incidents were incomplete in the Albanian, but the English version of the statement that was shown to you was correct. And it is also stated here that as to you being informed about KLA soldiers being taken for interrogation, these were personal problems or issues amongst the soldiers, including bad behavior such as drinking in the evening and opening fire in the air. End of quote. Mr. Salimi, you remember talking about soldiers that fired weapons in the air or drank too much in the evening? Remember discussing this with the prosecution?
Yes, that's correct.
Are you aware of cases, Mr. Salimi, in which KLA soldiers were arrested for detaining or mistreating civilians, not only for firing in the air or drinking in the evening, but for arresting and detaining civilians?
recall any such case.
So you personally never ordered the arrest of a soldier in your zone in Drenica who detained, abducted, or mistreated civilians?
Never.
Thank you. I'd like to move on to paragraph 20, and I think after discussing this paragraph, it would be a good time for a break. In this paragraph, in paragraph 20, preparation note 1, a document is discussed, that is exhibit P00140, and you said, according to the preparation note, that you were unfamiliar with the acronym SHOND, or SHOND, but this must be in reference to the zone archive, meaning this was the document was to be sent to the general staff, the zone archive, and the 111th Brigade. And it's also recorded here that you told the prosecution that you didn't know where this document would be sent in the general staff, but it was supposed to be sent to them. Not interested in the document, but in general, Mr. Salimi, if you had a message or a document or a copy or the copy of a document for the general staff, how did you send that document to the general staff? How did you do that in practice?
Shaban Shala was in charge of information matters and contacts with the staff. So in this sense, it was either conveyed in person or orally through the phone.
Thank you. I think it's a good time for a break.
We'll give you a 10-minute break now, witness. You may leave the courtroom. We're adjourned for 10 minutes.
All rise. All rise.
Be seated. Please bring the witness in. We'll continue with the judge's questions now, Mr. Salimi. Go ahead, Mr. Judge Barto.
Thank you. Mr. Salimi, my next questions are about preparation note 2. And I would like to start with paragraph 7 of that preparation note, where it is mentioned that you told the prosecution in your preparation session that Mr. Salimi, Mr. Recep Salimi, your uncle had a bodyguard called Afti Ratzi or Rachi. Is that right? Did you tell this? The prosecution? Did you tell the prosecution this?
There was a man called Avdirati who indeed escorted him.
And can you explain to us why Mr. Recep Salimi needed a bodyguard?
Nuk është fjala që për po
We are not talking about a guard as such, but it was somebody who was always in his company on the majority of cases, and mostly in Abri or elsewhere we met. But I was asked, and I can say that Avdirati was indeed, for most of the time, his bodyguard.
So you just mentioned or used the word bodyguard again. Is that the purpose of that person, of the man who accompanied Mr. Recep Salimi, was the purpose that he should have protected Mr. Salimi, Mr. Recep Salimi?
I don't think the purpose was to protect him, but he was with him as a close friend.
Honor, apologies. I think there was a transcript error on line 25. My understanding is that the Albanian should say for most of the time he was not his bodyguard. If we could check with the witness. Thank you.
This could explain the misunderstanding. So we are not talking about a bodyguard, we are talking about a friend or a personal assistant. Is that your evidence?
I believe so. Not as a bodyguard for close protection, but as an associate.
Mr. Salimi, you also mentioned during your direct examination by the prosecution that Mr. Thaçi had a bodyguard. At least it was translated as bodyguard. So this is my question, did Mr. Thaçi have a bodyguard, or was it also a friend of Mr. Thaçi who accompanied him?
He did have a bodyguard after the war. During the war, Mr. Thaçi had one of his escorts. Once when I saw him, was somebody who did not serve as a bodyguard, but somebody who's with him all the time, because you couldn't have a bodyguard in conditions of war.
Can I continue? No, you better wait.
Thank you, Mr. President. I consulted, and Mr. Thaçi just wanted it clarified as to what time period we're talking about the bodyguard, and the witness has already done that, so it's resolved. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Judge.
Thank you. And were these people who escorted your uncle, Mr. Salimi, Recep Salimi, and Mr. Thaçi, were these people armed?
Yes, during the war they were armed. Everybody was armed during the war.
And did you also have a person who accompanied you? I don't want to call him a bodyguard anymore, but since you were referring to these people as bodyguards.
Yes, most of the time when I was on the move, I did have people close to me when I moved from away from the zone or to a different place. But yes, there was somebody who stayed close by me, not as a bodyguard, but as a comrade, friend.
And as far as you know, did the other operational zone commanders, Commander Remy, Commander Drini, Commander Hardinai, Commander Rama, Commander Buya, and Commander Izufi, did they all have persons who accompanied them, who stay close to them or by them?
I do not know, but when they moved from one zone to another, or when they came to take part in a meeting, it was quite natural for them to come in the company of others.
Thank you. Do you know whether, since we already talked about Mr. Recep Salimi and Mr. Thaçi, whether the other two accused, Mr. Veseli and Mr. Krasniqi, had bodyguards or people who accompanied them?
No, I do not know.
Thank you. We'd like to move on to a different topic and to paragraph 33 of preparation note 2. In this note, or in this paragraph of the note, you discussed an exhibit P00135 with the prosecution in your preparation session. I'm not interested in the exhibit, but more in the information you, according to the note, provided to the prosecution about the exhibit and about a telephone call or communication with a person named Ahmed Krasniqi. And it said here that you called this person because you wanted to thank him for sending officers like Kemail Shakiri to the Drenica operational zone. Do you remember discussing this or mentioning this during your preparation session, this telephone call?
Yes, that is correct. Mr. Kemal Shakiri made the phone call and passed the phone over to me, during which I thanked him, and this was in Likots. This was the time when he arrived.
Can you remember when this telephone call was made?
Nuk e di sakt.
I don't know it, but it was via Shakiri's telephone, but I do not know the time when he arrived.
And the telephone that was used by Mr. Shakiri and by you, was that a landline or mobile phone or satellite phone?
Telefoni zot kur ai ka fol po
I think that the telephone that was used was not a satellite phone. The device that was given to me, I did not have such a phone myself. I used a satellite telephone. I don't recall exactly what kind of device it was, but it was his device, and I don't think it was a satellite phone.
Just to make sure that the record is correct, the record says that you just said that you used a satellite telephone. Is that right? Did you use a satellite telephone when you, at the time when you had the telephone communication with Mr. Krasniqi?
No, I only had a minute or two, a minute long or 2 minutes long conversation with Mr. Krasniqi on the occasion that I thanked him, and that was on Mr. Shachiri's phone.
Mr. Salimi, I understood that. My question was a little bit different. Did you have a satellite telephone? I was not asking whether you used that satellite telephone to call or to communicate with Mr. Krasniqi, but did you have a phone, a satellite telephone, at the time when that call was made?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you, that's clear now. But you can't remember whether Mr. Krasniqi gave you a landline or a mobile phone?
Mr. Krasniqi did not give me a telephone.
Sorry, maybe it's my mistake. I meant Mr. Shakiri gave you. My question was whether Mr. Shakiri gave you a mobile or a landline phone.
I cannot recall exactly, but I think that Mr. Shachiri at that point had a small telephone when he passed it over to me to thank him.
What was Mr. Krasniqi's role when you talked to him? Did he have an official function?
He was a Minister of Defense in the Bukoshi government.
Do you know where he was based back then?
No, I didn't.
In your Zeri interview exhibit P01745, in the English version, it's on page 14. I don't think we should, or it's necessary to bring that up, but you mentioned that Kemal Shakiri was a FARC officer who deserted and who fled to Albania in September 1998, so who left Kosovo without your permission. Is that correct?
I don't know how correct that is, but I know that after the September offensive, the general offensive, Mr. Shachiri traveled and went to Albania, did not stay there until the end of the war.
And are you aware that Mr. Krasniqi, Ahmed Krasniqi, was killed in Tirana on the 21st of September 1998? Are you aware of that?
Yes, we heard of this case, but I don't know any details.
So, in other words, since you just mentioned September 1998 as the time when Mr. Shaqiri left Kosovo, and you have heard of the killing of Mr. Krasniqi, this telephone conversation must have been before September 1998, at least before the 21st of September 1998. Is that right?
Yes, a lot earlier than that.
Thank you. Mr. Salimi, I would like to move on to paragraph 42 of preparation note 2. And this paragraph deals with the purported minutes or notes of a meeting on the 6th of February 1999, and we were shown this document a couple of times now. So again, I think it's not necessary to show you the notes again or this document again. But in paragraph 42 of preparation note 2, it is said that, or it is stated that you had told the prosecution in your preparation session that you did have some criticism of Mr. Sokol Bashota and Mr. Jakub Krasniqi and the work being done at the time, although you could not remember or you did not have a recollection that you said anything of the kind or of this kind that is contained in the document. So my question is simply this. If this is true, what did you criticize? What was your criticism?
In the case of Mr. Bashota, he was Deputy Commander for Operations, and in my capacity as a zone commander, I never had the benefit of any support for the operations or for the operational planning or for any battle. And that was the reason that the criticism, therefore, was focused on the fact that he was the deputy commander in charge of operations.
And what about Mr. Jakub Krasniqi?
Sorry, Jakub, President.
Everybody respected Mr. Krasniqi, his activities, but I did not think that he was the appropriate figure for operational and commanding functions at the time.
And why was that? Why did you think so? That he was not the appropriate figure for operational and commanding functions at the time?
Because we hadn't had any meetings at the level of commanders on operational plans or similar things.
Do you know what Mr. Krasniqi's function or role was at the time of that meeting in February 1999?
No, but the decision that I took described him as Deputy Commander of the General Staff.
Thank you. I would like to move on to paragraph 76 of preparation note 2, and I would like to ask the court officer to bring us into private session, please, for the protection of witnesses and others.
soon as we're in public session.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Salimi, I have a question or two about what you said earlier during your testimony here. You mentioned, or you were asked about prior convictions. And if I'm not mistaken, you mentioned that you were convicted for war crimes in Kosovo, allegedly committed in Likos. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And did you spend time in prison?
Yes, I did.
How long were you in prison altogether for this allegation?
Approximately 6 years. I was sentenced to 8 years, and I served almost 6 years, 5 years and 6 months. And I finished also the rest of the procedures.
I understand. In paragraph 78 of preparation note 2, it is stated that, or it is, the following is stated, and I read what is in that paragraph to you. Even with the information W04290 has now, he does not know that there were any detention centers in the Drenica operational zone. People may have been stopped at a checkpoint in question, but no one was detained. No one was ever interrogated or detained at Likovac. End of quote. And yesterday, that's on page 4 of yesterday's real-time transcript, you said you have no information about people being arrested and detained in Likovac. Do you remember that you said that yesterday?
Yes, that's correct.
I'd like to ask you, how do you explain that the courts in Kosovo have received evidence from people, from individuals who claim to have been detained and mistreated in Likovac in 1998, 1999, especially in the former police station, including by you? How do you explain that? Or do you have an explanation for that?
Neither then, at the time during the court proceedings, I never admitted this as the truth. However, based on the testimony and evidence given by witness A, the judge believed him and considered this to be the truth, and as a result I was sentenced. Again, even despite the fact that I was sentenced and I served my time, I still think that this person was manipulated and what he stated was not true.
Manipulated by who?
I don't know by whom, but in my opinion, his allegations were not true. Nevertheless, the court trusted him, and then I was, as a result, sentenced together with the others, and I complied with the sentence terms.
I understand. I'd like to move on to my next topic, paragraph 82 of preparation note 2. It's about how often, or the question of how often your uncle Recep Salimi visited or how he traveled around the Drenica operational zone, and according to the note to that paragraph 82, you told the prosecution that Mr. Salimi was at the meeting when you were selected as zone commander, and you believe that Mr. Sokol Bashota was also there. I'm more interested in Mr. Recep Salimi's presence would like to know in what capacity was Mr. Recep Selimi there during the meeting when you were selected as zone commander?
I do not know in which capacity, but he was present in this meeting.
Can I ask Madam Court Officer to put an exhibit for us on the screen, which is exhibit P01745 ET? No, we also have an Albanian version. That is your Zeri interview. And the purpose of this exercise is to refresh your memory. Can we go to page 14 in the English, please? Unfortunately, I don't have the page number in the Albanian version, but maybe we can find that. Could you scroll down, Court Officer? Would that be possible? I mean, in the Albanian version.
Your Honor, if it assists, I believe this is page 60000773 in the English. The corresponding Albanian page, we think, is SPOE 0036048. If it's not that page, it's within a page of that page.
Thank you. Mrs. Selimi, please tell me if you don't see the part I'm interested in, I'm reading now in the English, in the Albanian version. But in the third paragraph, the center of the page, I can just, should be the third, yes, starting with after a great deal of work over a long period of time. Can you see that in the Albanian?
Yes.
Thank you. I continue. After a great deal of work over a long period of time, all the persons in charge of the points or the unit commanded gathered together in China in the summer of 1998 to elect the commander of the Drenica operational zone, Recep Selimi, a representative of the UCK General Headquarters, and then other people are mentioned, were present there. So my question is, was your uncle Recep Selimi present as a representative of the UCK General Headquarters?
First of all, he's not my uncle, but my uncle's son, Recep Selimi, that is. Secondly, yes, in this interview I said that he was there as a representative of the General Staff of the KLA. That's correct. But this became known later on, the positions of the members of the General Staff, that is.
So just for the record, and I think this is a bit difficult apparently difficult to understand. Mr. Recep Selimi is your uncle's son, meaning he's your cousin. Is that right? Just for the record.
Yes. Correct.
So if you look at the paragraph that is above the paragraph I just read to you, the first sentence of the paragraph I just read to you, it says here, the paragraph starting with, so the reorganization started with Drenica, which was a subzone until then. Can you see that in the Albanian?
Yes, I can.
If you look at at least in the English, the third sentence, the fourth sentence actually, I have to say, starting with the UCK General Headquarters had tasked Recep Selimi. Can you see that?
Yes, I can.
This goes on, after Recep Selimi, the General Inspector in the headquarters with the formation and organization of the operational units, particularly the zones. My question is, was Mr. Recep Selimi already, to say, the General Inspector when he took part in the meeting? Or did he have a role at all?
No, I don't think so. I don't think he had any position, and I don't know he was a member of the General Staff. He was in the meeting. And this was conveyed then to the members of the General Staff through Mr. Recep Selimi. Now, with respect to the title as Inspector General, this came to be known later on. I referred here to the position he had in the General Staff, but not at the time when we had not set up the points yet.
If you look at the next, or the third paragraph on that page again, please. The paragraph starting with, after a great deal of work over a long period of time. And look, or try to find the sentence starting with Recep Selimi said the UCK headquarters. Can you see that in the Albanian?
Yes, correct.
Sentence you can see on the page right now.
Yes, I can see it.
In the English it says, Recep Selimi said the UCK headquarters would approve who would be elected commander from this meeting. And if I'm not mistaken, you said that your appointment or election, whatever you call it, was indeed approved later on by the General Staff headquarters. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
So it's correct that Mr. Selimi said the UCK headquarters would approve who would be elected commander from the meeting? That's also correct?
It is correct that Mr. Selimi would pass on, deliver the proposal made by the commanders of the points to the General Staff.
Thank you. And my last topic for today concerns the information that is contained in paragraph 89 of preparation note 2, and that's a topic that was extensively discussed in this courtroom with, I think, all parties. And it's about the meeting you had with, maybe, I'm not sure about that, depends on your answer, among others, with Agim Sheko, Hashim Thaçi, and Kadri Vezeli. And it's about Operation Arrow. And the meeting apparently took place in the Neradima zone. Do you remember that meeting and the discussions we had in this courtroom?
Paul?
Yes.
In paragraph 89 of Preparation Note 2, it is stated that after approving of the plan for the operation, I think you said earlier, after signing off, you met with the three people, the three persons I just mentioned, Mr. Cheku, Mr. Thaçi, and Mr. Kadri Vezeli. And I'm interested in knowing from you what positions, or what position, first of all, Mr. Thaçi had, if any, when you talked to him in that meeting. Was he already Prime Minister in the Provisional Government of Kosovo, or not?
I don't think at that time he had that position. I think he had been tasked to form the government, the provisional government.
You said on page 51 of Tuesday's real-time transcript, that Mr. Thaçi was receiving people and delegations with a view of forming the provisional government of Kosovo at the time. So, is it your evidence that you don't think that Mr. Thaçi was already Prime Minister of the in the provisional government of Kosovo, but he had already returned from Rambouillet and had the mandate to form the provisional government of Kosovo? Is that your evidence?
As a matter of fact, in this period of time, after the return of the delegation, the provisional government started being formed. I thought of him as the person having the mandate to form the government. I do not know the procedures, whether it's the government to give the person the mandate or determine the role of the Prime Minister in this sense. I don't know. But in this time, he had the mandate given to him by the entire delegation to form the provisional government.
Mr. Misetic, anything? Or can I move on?
Again, Mr. Thaçi just wanted in terms of timing, but I will deal with that in cross-examination. Thank you.
Of course, you can do that, but I can also ask. I'm talking about the meeting you had with, and I think this is clear when it was, at least after the delegation returned from Rambouillet. This is my understanding. Is that not correct?
Since you asked, Mr. Thaçi is emphasizing that the provisional government was not formed until into April, and he's discussing a meeting at the end of March. That's what his position.
This is exactly what I want to find out.
Thank you.
Thank you for the intervention. Please, I'm asking questions to the witness, and so, Mr. Salimi, you heard what Mr. Thaçi just said. He was referring to a meeting at the end, or that he said that the meeting was supposed to be at the end of March. Is that right, Mr. Thaçi? Mr.
He can't testify.
Yes, our position is that this meeting took place at the end of March. Yes.
All I wanted to know. So I try again, Mr. Salimi. You heard what was just said. The meeting is supposed to be at the end of March, and does that change anything from or to what you just said in relation to Mr. Thaçi's role or not, what you were aware of?
Delegationen
I do not know when the delegation returned. I know that there were meetings going on for the formation of the government and appointments of people in specific positions. I do not know, I don't recall when the government was formed.
Thank you. We will continue for another 3 to 4 minutes, I hope. I have 2 more questions. So, Mr. Salimi, a few more questions for you. Our next question is about what you said on pages 83 to 84 of yesterday's real-time transcript, and you were asked by the Thaçi defense, by Mr. Misetic from the Thaçi defense, whether you could confirm that the provisional government of Kosovo had no role or say in your appointment as second in command of the Kosovo Protection Corps, the KPC, and you said correct. Do you remember saying that?
Yes, that is correct.
You haven't been asked that. How do you know this? How do you know that the Kosovo or the provisional government of Kosovo had no role or say in your appointment? Did anybody tell you this?
Ja, por ankomsten.
No, but I took part in meetings that at the time were under the UNMIK administration. And the minister in charge of security was an Englishman. The appointments were made by UNMIK.
So how did UNMIK or UNMIK come up with your name? Were you recommended or proposed by someone, and if so, by whom? Or did you apply for the job with UNMIK?
Ja, na ishim në pozicione të ndryshme.
No, we had our own post, the zone commanders, that is. Agim Cheku was the commander of the KLA. Being transformed, I was the guard, commander of the guard. And that is the line of appointments that was pursued and followed. Nuruddin Lushtako was appointed guard commander. I was appointed deputy commander of the Kosovo Protection Corps, and Agim Chek was commander, and this whole procedure was led by UNMIK.
Now my final question. You were asked several times by counsel for Mr. Thaçi, and I'm referring to yesterday's real-time transcript, page 91, whether you, in your capacity as operational zone commander, could have arrested members of the KLA general staff, and you were shown a document 1D, or the document is now admitted as 1D00247. Do you remember that discussion?
Yes.
You said on page 91 the following: a quote from yesterday's transcript, not only against these 3 persons in particular or anyone else, but the zone commander had full responsibility and authority to take action, and the zone commander took responsibility for this with the brigade commanders at this time. Now, whether the operational zone commander could be influenced or not is another matter. However, the zone commander had the authority. I'm referring to our zone, the Drenica zone. End of quote. My question is the following. Is it your evidence that you, as operational zone commander, could have arrested any person in your operational zone, including members of the KLA General Staff? Is that your evidence?
As zone commander, I had full authority and responsibility for the Drenica operational zone. Anything that had to do with the organization, the organizational fighting was my responsibility. As far as arresting people is concerned, I have said it before and I'll say it again that I am not aware of ever having issued an arrest warrant for anyone within the zone, let alone for members of the General Staff.
I understand that you haven't done that, but my question was, could you have done that? Did you have the authority? And there's my follow-up question. If so, on what basis did you have the authority? Was there a regulation or provision that gave you the authority to arrest members of the General Staff as an operational zone commander in your operational zone?
No, I did not have such powers or instructions or regulations available.
Thank you very much, Mr. Salimi. No further questions. Thank you for your patience.
Mr. Salimi, we're finished for today. We thank you for being with us. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. We hope to have you finished with your testimony tomorrow. Thank you for being with us. Thank you, Mr. Cecchini. You may leave the courtroom now.
Thank you.